welcome. This
So we now move to a speaker who has dedicated much of his professional life to a highly relevant and sometimes underestimated part of our work: protecting trees during construction work. We already discussed it this morning with the city of Hamburg. Markus Streckenbach is a German expert in urban vegetation and founder of the company Bureau für Urbane Vegetation. Yeah, my German gets better by the hour. And he is the author of the book Trees on Construction Sites that you will show also to us later. Please give him a warm welcome, Markus Streckenbach.
Thank you very much. Yes, the pointer. I will give you a short impressions of protecting trees at construction sites as we do it here in Germany. First of all, I have to apologize for my grammar because I have hardly any experience in speaking English, so it may be that I get lost and I have to ask for words. So, okay, I will start with this law standards and normative references, and on top of all, here in Germany, we have the federal law on nature protection, that is Bundesnaturschutzgesetz. This law sets more or less the planks for the tree protection. And I will show this example for this law. At this construction site, I was here responsible for the tree protection. And we have had plenty of room, enough room, so we have been able to put this fence here and to protect these trees, these plain trees with the fence. So overall we don't have had problems here, and you can see here the pit that has been dug for the new building. So 3 years later the scene looked like this. The trees are already there, and they have additionally this stem protection, and the building, as you can see, has been built. But the thing that I want to highlight with this example is that this law made it possible to protect these special trees here, but we have also trees in front of the construction sites. And this was not my job to look after them, but if we have a closer look here, you can clearly see that these trees are damaged, that the soil is damaged, and this is a very poor, but yeah, the law that I have showed before is, let's say it in another way, the common street tree is not covered by this law. So, what else can we do to protect trees, the common street trees? So we have this federal law on nature protection. Oh no, sorry. This was the conclusion for the federal law. So this very powerful law does not lead to the protection and preservation of common street trees. Yeah, this is what I would want to say. There are some trees that are protected by this law, natural monuments, alleys, or unique trees, or very old ones, or rare ones. But the common street tree is not covered by this law. So what else can we do? So we have the tree preservation bylaws, that is in German Baumschutzsatzungen. They are very individual. That means that some cities have them and some cities don't have them. They are valid on a municipality level. And there are some problems with this Baumschutzsatzung, with the tree preservation bylaws. And I have this example brought to you just to display the one main problem. This property owner that you can see here wanted to tear down these old buildings and to construct new buildings, and he wanted to use the property as good as possible. And he wanted to fell this tree, and the officials from the city get there and told him, no, we have this bylaw, you are not allowed to fell this tree. This was very hard for the property owner, and in the public opinion, these bylaws are always seen very badly, because they see, this is what you can see here on the right side, examples like this. This is a property of the city, and the tree is from the city, and this is obviously a construction site, and you can see how badly this tree is treated, and this is what the public sees, and they don't accept it because they are banned or they are not allowed to fell trees on their private property, but on the other hand they see the cities doing this. So they feel that there is a pressure on them with these bylaws. So the conclusion is that if there is a bylaw, mostly it is used to protect and preserve trees on private ground. Then we have standards, and one of the standards is German Industrial Norm 1998. It's a planning guideline for underground infrastructure, for pipes, sewers and lines in public traffic areas. This is for civil and underground engineers. So the German title is here, Unterbringung von Leitungen und Anlagen in öffentlichen Verkehrsflächen, and so on. And this standard, in this standard is one thing that you can read there. It says, when laying or modifying lines, existing trees should be taken into account. And everybody knows if there is something pointed out like should be taken into account, things will not go very well. And I have this example to explain this. This is a construction site. After the construction, you can see that the pavement here is new, and a few weeks before this picture I was there and had taken this picture. So this is the outcome of trees have to taken into account. So it is clearly that this German industrial norm, yes, the street tree has this stem protection, but everything else has been overseen, and this is what I want to say with this example is that subjunctives like should or maybe or perhaps do clearly not lead to the protection and preservation of trees, like this industrial norm that deals with pipes, sewers and lines, and not so much with trees. Then we have a very important standard, the German Industrial Norm 18920. This is for vegetation, technology and landscaping, protection of trees, plant populations and areas with vegetation in construction projects. And it says, among others, that ditches, hollows and excavations must not be created in the root zone. So let's go back one picture that we have seen before. And it is clear that it doesn't work. So the imperative, like calls, like must be, something must be like this or like that, does also not lead automatically to the protection and preservation of trees. And the Industrial Norm 189.2 also says this, that the minimum distance from ditches, hollows and excavations to the root base of trees must be 4 times the trunk circumference at a height of 1 meter, but at least 2.5 meters for trees, for younger trees, with a trunk diameter of less than 20 centimeters. So this is a standard. And now let's see what this standard stands for. This is the plane tree that we have seen before. So the street width is 7.40, the circumference of the tree is 3.80 in 1 meter, 4 times is 50 meter 20 as the minimum distance for trenches. And it is obviously that this norm or this aspect of the norm is totally rubbish. So another thing that we can find in this norm, it's a very important norm for us for tree protection, is that for protection against damages from equipment, vehicles and other construction activities, trees and construction zones must be protected by a fence, and it must enclose the entire rooting zone unless protection cannot be ensured by other measures. So the rooting zone is defined as the ground area under the crown of trees plus 1.50 meters, and for columnar trees plus 5 meters to all sides. So this is the definition of the tree protection zone, and I have seen in the in the guidelines that the EAC has published this year, I think, that there are different approaches for the tree protection zone. So, and this is the approach that we have here in Germany. And it all belongs, or it depends on the situation, how we can deal with this protection zone. So it is clear that in the open field with these oak trees, we must protect the trees, the soil, especially in the rooting zone, against damages from vehicles, from things that will compact the soil. And in another scene, like here in the middle with the beach, where you can see that there is a path, and if the question would be here where to lay a pipe, for example, I would say lay the pipe here where the path is, because if the path has been built up correctly, the soil is very dense here, and you all know that beaches do not root into dense areas, and this would be a good position for the trench. So, and then the last example here, this is also a beach. The property where the beach stands is 1.5 meters above the ground, the level of the street, and with no question, so the protection of this zone here of the street is part of the the street is part of the protection zone of the trees, but it does have not be protected because we can hardly find roots there. But in the next picture we can see, so this is a tree, and you can see now actually there is a construction site, and now here's the excavator, and now we are talking about tree protection, but not the roots. The crown has to be protected in this example. So the tree protection zones, to my knowledge, has not been displayed in any publication, and so my colleagues and we have written a book about tree protection that you can see here, and we have made this drawing just to show the protection zone, the size of the protection zone, and it is also displayed that the protection zone also reaches the ground. And I think that in the publication from the ARC, I've read that the depth is 0.8 up to 1.5 meters or something like that. It depends on the soil, if there's a groundwater table or something like that. So this is just only to display the tree protection zone. Let's go back to the protection by fences. In this example, we've been able to put this fence with these mobile elements. To be honest, to build a fence with wood is the best opinion, and to be fixed into the soil, but sometimes you don't have the capacities to do that, so you can also build up the fence with these mobile elements, and just to prevent that the fence will be pushed and pulled anywhere, we use security bolts to fix the fence, and the feet, as you can see here, we secured them with the steel rods from the inside, so you can't pull them out from the outside, and up to now this fence also works very well. Here's another example from a construction site where I was involved in an early stage. This is clearly a stage where the construction just began, but before it all began, the planners gave me some plans, some maps of the area of the park. And I went through the park and made a first investigation, observations, and I have looked after the trees, after the vitality, after the status, and I have looked after the individual perspective for further development. And then I marked this into the plan with colors. So the green colors that are trees that are vital, that are in a good status, and they have a good perspective. And then you have the yellow ones that are trees that I don't know. In this year they haven't looked very good, but it could be that in the next year they will be better. This is when you see the tree for the first time, you can't decide. And then you have trees in red marked, and these are trees that are obviously almost dead. So, and this I gave that to the planners, and this made it better for the planners for the further planning, because now they knew with what trees they don't have to take into account for the further planning. For example, these trees there on the right side marked with red, and I have a photo of this ash trees suffering from the ash tree dieback, and the second one here in the background with poison ivy. And I told them, the planners, not to take them into account. So it was helpful for the planners. Then I took a second look at the trees for the individual potential for conflicts and risk for the trees due to the project. And there were trees here highlighted with this light blue color where I haven't seen problems, and then are trees we have here with the middle tone blue, where it depends on what they really wanted to do in the circumference of the trees, if this will be a high risk. And then there have been trees with this darker blue color where the risk of damage was very big, and this also helped the planners very much to plan the construction site. And you can see clear that these two trees here that I've marked before in the red color, they don't have taken into account for the further planning, but they wanted to build up here. You can see ein Spielplatz. Yep. So, and due to the red color before, it was already no problem. So this is what I wanted to show, the opinions that you have if you are in an early stage of this project's involved. This tree I can show this tree that has also a darker blue color, and this is a tree in the real situation. And what they wanted to do is to renew this path, and I saw here no restrictions, but I saw here that they have to have a closer look at the construction. So this is an example what can happen when the tree protection is not so good. This is what was also a project of mine where I was I don't know how you call this person, the tree protection manager, supervisor, something like that. Okay, so I was responsible here for the tree protection, and the site manager gave me a call before this trench here was dug. And it was already no problem because the distance to the trees was great, and we have hardly found any roots there. And then a few weeks later, another call hit me from the site manager, and he says, okay, please, can you come? Something has happened. And this happens very often. And I get to the construction site, and as you can see here, the excavator, it's not really a great excavator. And as you can see, they had dug another trench with a distance from only 2 meters to the trees. And yes, something happened, and we have looked after it, and this is what happened. So with this machine, these roots with a diameter like this have been cutted, and I asked the machine driver how it could happen, and he told me that he haven't recognized that there have been roots. So this is something that you are often told on construction sites, but okay, I take it for granted. It's like that. And then the city of the city the owner of the trees wanted from me to calculate the damage, and this is possible here in Germany. I don't know if it's possible in other countries. Here in Germany, we use for that the Methode Koch, it is called, and I will only show the economic consequences for this damage. So the determination of the extent of the damage and initial static load tests have cost approximately 2,500 euros. Then the calculated costs for the damage with the Methode Koch for 2 plane trees, this one and this one in the background, approximately 24,000 euros. That is really a high number. I've done my best. So then the pruning costs of 2 plane trees due to the static load tests, approximately 2,500 euros. And then the retesting of the stability after 3 years with the static load tests, again, approximately 1,800 euros. And this was the economic consequences, the economic damage, an amount of approximately 31,000 euros here for the workers, in contrast to the costs of approximately 3,000 euros for the tree protection supervisor, that are the overall costs for the project, who was clearly not involved enough. So I don't know if these calculations can be done in other countries. Here we do it like that. So just to give you an example of the numbers that you can get. So here I have an example, just to go more into the practice, where a long distance heat line, that is Fernwärme, has to be laid here where the plane trees stand, and when it comes to these lines, you can see the trenches. The trenches are 2 meter width and have a depth of 3 meter. It is out of question where to lay them. This is nothing that they will ask you. It is fixed where they lay. The only thing that my job was here was to do the best for the trees. So you can see the trench, and what we have done here is we use this vacuum sucker. I don't know you all know these machines. So a soil sucker, we use these machines, and it is normally that you have to put this hose to the suction arm that is made of plastic, but due to it depends all on the soil, and there we have had a very clayish soil, a very hard soil, and the suction truck was not able to suck out the soil, so he had to put this crown made of steel, and it is obviously that this crown had made some damage to the roots, and it is also that this method, even if it is used widely, is not as tree and root friendly as it is said. So you can see here the further working. You can see roots that we have excavated. Then we fixed the roots here, for example, and all worked very well. And then it was in the summer where it was very warm and very with a high drought. And one of the crucial points at this construction site is the watering of trees, watering of roots. And then we have to find a solution for this. And what we have made is that we covered this hole with these planks and then with these plastic barriers here, just to give a little bit shade, yes. So, and the problem is, who does this watering on the weekends and how it can be done, and it is often forgotten due to the planning, the watering. And this is one example how they have done it here on this construction site with this IBC container at the weekends. They poured the water here just to protect the roots from drying out. So here you can see some excavated roots, and then I've laid some tissue around them just to prevent them from drying out. You can see that the workers cannot use everywhere this sheeting made of steel, like you can see it here on this side. So that when the roots cross the trench, they have to make this sheeting out of planks. I have also used this plank to protect this root that you can see here, because he sucked out the soil and this big stones fell on the root, and I wanted the root to be protected from the falling rocks. So here you can see a look. You have a look inside the trench. Here you have another look inside the trench, and as you can imagine, now the problem is to lay the pipes, and they made it very well. These pipes are 12 meters long, and the weight is, I don't know, some tons. They are made of steel, and they have done their best. So you always have to put out the steel rods and then put it in and lay the pipe down a little bit more. But in the end, as you can see, it all worked out very well. 5 minutes? Okay. And here you see another picture of the trench. It all worked. This is what I want to show you. You have also some old pipes here inside the trench. And there's often the problem that you have roots inside, clearly the trees grew here inside the roots, and you can see that these roots have less diameters. And everyone at the construction site tells you that this root can be cutted easily. And yeah, it is no problem to cut this root. This is all they see. It is more likely like a finger, but every root branches. And if you cut roots with this diameter, let's say 10 or 20 times, you also cut this here from the tree, and this will lead to problems to the tree. So this picture I've taken because it shows something very strange. So this colleague here is the colleague from the bomb squad. He looks inside the trench, he looks after old weapons, something like that, and it is clearly why he can stop the construction process. If he sees something, he says stop. And he's able to do this, also by laws. So here on this side, you can see the colleague, he's an archaeologist. And he also looks for archaeological fragments. And if he sees something interesting, he can say, stop, no problem. He has a law in his background, and it can be done. And here behind me, there's another guy. He was responsible for the species, like birds, like bats, like insects, and he also can say stop if he finds something. And everybody on the construction site thinks that this guy here in the front can also do. He can't. I'm not able to close construction site due to laws, that I don't have the laws, and also due to Versicherung is to my insurance, because when the construction site stops, everybody begins to count money. So, okay, so you said 5 minutes, so I will skip this. Maybe this year, regulatory basics of for the tree protection supervisor. What we have at the moment is the RSBB, and in this standard, the measures for tree protection and those for the minimization of damages, injuries to trees are described very clearly, but it is not cleared which measure has to be implemented when and by whom. So who's responsible for what? And how are the measures announced in the call for bids, for example, correctly, and who has to control the measures how often? This all is not displayed in our standards. So it is said what is to be done, but no, not by whom and when. And on this background, we have written this book that I've showed before. And in this book, we have, we have different planning stages on construction sites, and then we have looked after these planning stages, and we have then on the other side described the works or the possible work for the persons that are responsible for the tree protection, as you can see here in a scheme or here in detail. And also we have in this book over 400 figures to explain what we want to show. And this is now the last slide that I have. This is an example from a colleague of mine, from Antje Lichtenauer from Switzerland, just to show that construction projects can go with tree protection, that trees can, how to say it, overlive this thing. This is at the moment where the construction, or where the buildings have been constructed. And on the right side, you see the same tree in another perspective after 8 years. And as you can see, you all know that beech trees are very vulnerable to damages. And as you can see, that this tree after 8 years is already very vital. And yeah, this is one good example, as I find, for a good tree protection at construction sites. So thank you very much, and sorry for my grammar.